Welcome to Retro Quest, my retro video gaming podcast where I force my son to play old video games for my amusement. I'm your host, D, and that's Sako. Sako, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I'm a professional gamer in my free time. It's kind of a hobby, you know? You just play games, and retro games are something I've been really interested in, too. So this is a great thing for me to do.
All right. So, this is our first pilot episode, our re-recording of our pilot episode. So, technically, we've done this before, but not good.
Yeah.
So, we're going to give it a shot for our second time. And this time we did play the Legend of Zelda for the NES, the Nintendo Entertainment System. A awesome game from my childhood where I have so much love for, and I just wanted to kind of get a perspective of someone who's much younger, going at it for the first time.
Yeah. And it's actually a really cool idea. And I really liked it. And obviously there are reasons I shouldn't get into yet because we have a long time on the podcast. So I shouldn't just drop everything right here. But it was a really good game. And I think if you listen to this entire episode, you're going to actually be happy you did because there's going to be a lot of information you're going to learn. And maybe even have some nostalgia hearing two nerds nerd out about The Legend of Zelda.
Yes, two generations of nerds nerding out about old fucking video games. So maybe we should tell these guys a little bit about the premise of the show before we jump into it too much.
Yeah.
So basically what we're gonna do is every episode we're gonna take either a game or a genre of game or a collection of games, and we're going to play them. I will replay them, and Sako will play them either for the first time or for the first time in a while, probably.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of get the perspective of, me with my nostalgia, going back to it, kind of, does my nostalgia hold up, or is this game bad, dude?
Just bad.
Does it suck? Is this going to be Mario 3, or is it going to be, Werewolf the Last Warrior? We don't know.
I know what one of those is.
You're going to know what both of those are eventually. Probably sooner rather than later.
Oh, man.
But, and then get Sako's perspective of someone never really playing it and also not even, alive when that game came out. And that's kind of what our cutoff, I think, is going to be for retro video games.
Yeah.
My thought is any generation of console before my son was born,
it can be counted as retro.
Can be counted as retro because he didn't even exist when that game came out. And I think that's a good baseline for retro because
pretty good one there, I would say. Don't start a podcast. It is a lot of work. It is a lot of tedious, just nibble picking at small things. So leave it to us, the professionals.
I have a little bit of knowledge in audio mixing. And I hope this doesn't sound horrible when it comes out because it took me a long time to set it up so it just sounds like this. And I'll probably still have to run it through some sort of filter or something before we put it on the air. But
the entire first episode got scratched because our microphones recorded weird. So
it was bad. It was something hard to come back from, and I kept trying to fix it. But when you have two mics recording at one sounds really super quiet and one sounds extremely loud, and it's only one track. There's no way to separate the audio and do all that other nerdy stuff. But I digress. So. The Legend of Zelda. Let's talk a little bit about this.
Yeah.
The Legend of Zelda, or the Nintendo Entertainment System, was released in 1986 and marked the beginning of one of the most iconic and enduring video game franchises in history. Developed and published by Nintendo, the game was directed by His Honor, Shigeru Miyamoto.
Let's go.
And designed by His Other Honor, Takashi Tezuka.
Ooh.
And it was a pioneering action-adventure game that introduced players to a vast open world filled with exploration, puzzles, and combat. I know looking back on it now, for someone your age, it might not seem like a vast open world. But trust me, when I was 6 or 7 playing this game, I couldn't even imagine how big that game was. I couldn't even comprehend the 9-screen across map. It goes on forever. Who knows how much it goes on past the water? That was my thought in my head as a kid. Is I
Yeah.
wonder what's past water. They didn't just stop.
Well, I mean that's fair though, because if like my idea when I was younger, like probably your age when you play Legend of Zelda, my idea of a vast open world was Fallout 3. That was the biggest it got for me. And now we have games like Starfield and games like even Fallout 4 that just hail in comparison.
Tears of the Kingdom, bro.
Like, it,
We're talking Zelda here.
it, yeah. But I mean, like games just get so much bigger. Like it's like vast open world means so much more with every year in gaming. Like, it's insane. And I also do want to point out, I knew both of those names, Shigeru Miyamoto and the other one. I don't
Takashi Tezuka.
Yeah, Takashi Tezuka.
Well, I mean, you just told us in the intro that you're a professional gamer. You better know who Shigeru Miyamoto is.
He's kind of the Mario guy from what
He's
I've
kind
heard.
of the godfather of modern video gaming.
He's kind of the godfather of, I feel like, most gaming.
When I say, yeah, I guess modern video gaming, I mean modern as far as, past Atari.
Yeah.
Which that's hard for you to wrap your mind around with, I'm sure. But I was there.
More or less.
I played that Atari. I was there when Atari was a thing. I was a baby, played it, but I was there.
I touched an Atari once, and it was when I was like 11, and I played like I think it was Pong, which was pretty good, classic. And then I played that ET game, and I could not understand what was going on.
Listen. A lot of people throw a lot of shit at the ET game for the Atari. And yes, it was a pretty shitty game, but it wasn't as shitty as people put it out to be. I think it was just people point the finger at ET. I played ET. It's not horrible. I mean, it's not a great game, but I played worse, honestly. I played worse on more modern systems than fucking ET.
Yeah, they're not all winners. Not anymore.
All right, so let's do a little before we really start talking about this. Let's do a little story synopsis. So basically, the land of Hyrule is in turmoil, and darkness looms over the kingdom. Princess Zelda, the guardian of the Triforce of Wisdom, senses the imminent threat posed by the evil wizard Ganon. After her desperation to thwart his evil plans, he shatters the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments and scatters them throughout the kingdom to prevent Ganon from obtaining its power. Enter Link, a young hero clad in green who must embark on a perilous quest to rescue Princess Zelda, defeat Ganon, and restore peace to Hyrule. Armed with a wooden sword and a shield, Link must traverse the expansive overworld, facing various challenges, monsters, and dungeons. The primary objective of the game is to collect the 8 Triforce fragments, which are hidden in dungeons scattered throughout Hyrule. Each dungeon presents its own unique challenges and puzzles, with a powerful boss guarding the Triforce fragment. Along the way, Link will collect useful items such as bombs, boomerangs, a bow, and a flute, and the magical recorder. I said flute, I meant magical recorder. And also, he gets a candle.
Oh yeah, a candle, my favorite.
A couple candles.
It's 2 of them, blue and red.
In addition to the primary quest, Link encounters various non-playable characters to explore the vast overworld. He encounters various non-playable characters who help him explore the vast overworld and give him clues. And those clues are about the vaguest fucking clues you'll ever see in a video game.
I think the only clue that I feel like was super direct was the one that said, "Go behind the waterfall." That was like the only one I felt like, oh, I know what that means instantly.
Eastmost Peninsula is the secret. When I was a kid and I was like 6, and I could read. I was a pretty good reader.
Yeah.
And video games helped me learn to read, honestly.
Yeah,
but
same here.
Learning how to read and coming across the Eastmost Peninsula, you might as well have been fucking writing in Sanskrit. Like it might as well have been fucking like
Ancient.
Japanese kanji as far as it concerned, because I didn't know what east was. I didn't know what a peninsula is. I barely knew what a secret meant. All right, so Legend of Zelda incorporates a non-linear gameplay style in a vast overworld where they can kind of just go in any direction they choose. It's a sense of freedom that was never really.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't that like idea introduced with Zelda, like non-linear like gameplay?
No, there were non-linear kind of games before that. Not a lot, but it kind of was the first game that kind of gave you that sense of I can go wherever, I can kind of do whatever I feel like. It's not a, you know, they don't even tell you what direction to go in from the beginning. Like you start off, you could honestly miss the sword for a long time if you just decide to not go to that first cave and go right, or go left or go up. If the going in that cave should be your first like thought, but if
Yeah.
it isn't, you could get, how far do you think you could get without the sword?
I personally think if played properly, like, I mean, without the first sword, like on a first playthrough, not much farther than like 3 screens. But I feel like someone professionally could probably get to like, what's it called? The second sword. I think the Master Sword or something.
No, the second sword
The
is
white
the white
sword.
sword.
The white sword. I think
There is
if
no actual master sword in this game. It's the magic.
But I think if played properly, someone could probably get the Master Sword before the wooden sword. Like that'd probably be possible. But I mean, on a first playthrough, that's not an accidental thing.
I don't think you couldn't do that. I don't think you could get as far as the white sword. Well, let me think for a second if there's any kind of obstacle that would prevent you from getting the white sword.
I'm just trying to like, how many hearts do you need to get the white sword? Like, how many heart casings do you have to grab?
For the white sword, I don't think you need a specific amount of hearts for the white sword. I know it's 12 for the magic sword.
I know it's 12 for the isn't it 7 for the white sword?
I don't think so, because usually when I play Zelda, I run through and I go all the way. I collect the blue ring, the white sword, the candle, the bombs, and the arrows before I even go into the first dungeon.
Well, then
And
I mean,
so I get the overworld hearts that you can get by bombing walls. I get those ones before I go to the first dungeon, and I think that's only like 2. I think there's only 2 or 3 if I can remember. I can't tell you off the top of my head.
yeah.
It's like dialing a phone number these days. I don't know the numbers, but I know how my fingers move. I
Yeah.
know what I do. I think there's 2 or 3 hearts. So I mean, even if you got 3 hearts, that would put you at 6, 5 or 6, and I don't think there's a prerequisite for that white sword.
I thought there was, but I might be wrong. Because I think the first time I ever went there, it wouldn't let me grab it for some
The
reason.
white sword?
Yeah, the white sword. I think I found it and it wouldn't let me grab it right away, and I hadn't gotten any heart casings. And then I heard my friends say, "You don't have enough hearts."
Oh, maybe you need like I would say 5.
4 or 5. Then
I think 5 would make sense. Maybe 6. 6 would actually make sense too because that's half as much as it would take to get the
oh yeah,
the
to get
magic sword. So if you
sword.
think about it, you might need 3 hearts. You start off with 3 hearts. 3 hearts, you get the wooden sword. 6 hearts, you get the white sword. 12 hearts. Yeah, maybe that's true. I might have to try to run through and grab that white sword before I get any hearts and see, because I will be playing this game again in my
Yeah.
life. I love this game. So, Sago, how about, did you read the manual?
I did. I read the manual. I haven't read it for a bit, but I read it like when we first recorded the episode. So I do have faint memories, mostly of the absolutely terrifying depictions of the enemies.
which don't look a whole lot like the sprites.
I mean, you can see it, like, once you've seen the art, you can you can kind of see it for some of them, but, like, for most of them, I mean, it's just, like, 8-bit sprite, or maybe, it's 8-bit, yeah, it's NES, so it's 8-bit sprite, so, I mean, only so much they can do there, so you have to be, like, imaginative.
Let's talk about the sprites for a minute, okay? The sprite work in this game is amazing.
Oh,
Like, even compared to games later on in its life, in the Nintendo's life, I mean, it's this, what the sprites are and what they're doing.
Yeah.
When Link thrusts his sword, he thrusts his sword. When he's, being Link, he's being Link. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know,
I had a thought.
I agree with you, though, like, the sprite work is pretty good. You can tell, like, what's happening and, like, where it's happening. It's, like, it's pretty good sprite work, and it's, like, it's pretty smooth, especially for, like, an NES game.
So tell me what you remember of the story from the manual. I know the story from the manual is kind of a weird story that they don't really refer back to in any sort of way. So what do you remember from the story in the manual?
What I remember is like it's essentially Link is like staring off the like it starts with Link. He's just staring off the edge of a cliff. I don't think it's specified why he just was, and he was like, "I need to go there. Like that's where I will fulfill my destiny." So he's like, and obviously I'm adding in like, you know, like fitting
Flavor.
the story together, flavoring it, making it make sense in my head. But like he's like, "I need to go down there for some reason. That is the part of Hyrule I need to."
Let me tell you something about NES manuals and the stories inside of them. First of all, most games that had a story related to it, the story was in the manual because they're really unless you
Yeah,
had
there
a
wasn't
one
really internet or
well if you had like a one screen text scroll that will be like here's the basics. The real story will be in the manual, because when you had Nintendo games, you had a manual. You needed that manual. That manual had a lot of information that you needed because a lot of
yeah.
games were different. They had different controls. A lot of games, even from Nintendo, had controls you never that weren't similar to other games. So without a manual, you sometimes would be really lost.
I can imagine.
The story, a lot of times in the manual, compared to the story that's on the text scroll in the actual game, something gets lost in translation.
At least a little bit of it.
So, what else do you remember of the story in the manual? And then we'll go through and clarify it a little bit because I remember a bit of the story in the manual as well.
Yeah, so he's like, I need to go down there. And as he's going down, or like maybe before he went down, once again, it didn't really specify, but he met this like old woman who was like, you are the chosen one. Like, and I think she was like somehow related to Princess Zelda, or like maybe like, I don't know, but like she was like, she knew something was going on, and she's like, you need to fix everything. Like, you just saved my life. I think like she like, and he was like, all right, this is it. I'm about to become the hero.
Okay. So, and here's the part. I'm gonna break down that story a little bit more for you, and point out some of the weird shit, some weird Nintendo shit. So, from what I remember in the manual, basically, Zelda gets captured by Ganon.
Yeah.
And I think it's her handmaiden Impa. It's her handmaiden or her like, how like, I don't know, like if you know like back in like medieval times, maybe I guess you would say like princesses and shit would have like an old lady that was just like their nanny when they were
just there.
It was like their nanny from when they were a kid, but when they grew up, it was still kind of just like their nanny, like their old person that hung around with them. Impa was basically that, like her handmaiden. Like I'm sure it was her nanny at some point, but then Zelda grew up, but then she's just like her assistant or something.
Yeah.
So Zelda gets captured by Ganon, does the Triforce thing, breaks it up, and then sends Impa on a quest to find the legendary swordsman. And Impa's strolling around Hyrule, as cool as can be, and gets attacked by a bunch of fucking moblins. And then Link shows up out of nowhere. I'm sure he just looked down on that cliff and was like, "That old lady is getting beat up. I need to go there." And then jumps down that cliff. And here's the thing is he saves Impa, and she sees by his bravery and his fighting expertise, I guess, fighting off these moblins, decides
without a sword.
That's the point I'm getting to is she's supposed to look for this legendary swordsman. Well, this little kid is Link's about, I think he's supposed to be like 11 or something.
Yeah, there's no way he's very old.
This
he's 11-year-old pajamas.
11-year-old kid shows up and beats up a bunch of fucking moblins, saves the old lady, and she's like, "Oh, well, you fought these moblins off barehanded. You must be a legendary swordsman. Go to that cave over there and get that wooden sword." And kind of sends him, or maybe she tells him the location of a wooden sword, a man in a cave with a wooden sword.
Because she just knows it.
And she says, "You know what? The best hope for this fucking kingdom is an 11-year-old boy with a wooden sword
in his pajamas.
Have at it." and that's what I remember of the manual.
Yeah, now that you say it like that, the way I was putting together in my head, I thought he just like coincidentally like came along like across this like Impa lady, and I was like, I don't know how or why, but this story like it gave me a brain aneurysm. Really, I did not understand.
Oh boy, wait till we get deeper into Zelda games,
no.
And then you have to try to fit together the fucking timeline.
Oh gosh, I've heard the horror stories.
We're gonna break down the timeline at some point because we're gonna do some Zelda in.
Yeah, I Figured, sadly. I'm scared for Zelda 2.
Oh, don't be scared. That's spoiler for our next episode, but that's my favorite Zelda game. Spoilers. Anyhow, let's talk a little bit about the game itself.
Yeah.
So the gameplay, basically you go through the dungeons, you get your magical item in each dungeon, you fight a boss. Some dungeons have like a mini boss or a boss that you fought earlier in a different dungeon, but now you're fighting them like halfway through a different dungeon.
Because it's just like, it just thinks you just got it.
Because you got it.
Yeah, none of them are hard once you know how to fight them.
Well, yeah, that's true. Especially later on when you get better equipment.
Yeah.
They do tend to be a little bit easier. At the end of each dungeon, you fight the boss, you get a heart container and a piece of the Triforce. And then it kicks you out and you can be on your way.
Which I really liked. Because the first time I picked up that Triforce, I thought I was going to have to fight my way back through the dungeon. I was like, I barely made it through this first dungeon alive. I really don't want to go all the way
Yeah,
back
but
through.
usually in the dungeons, once you've cleared a room, it stays cleared.
Yeah.
The only thing that really comes back, they don't come back, but like those like diamond-shaped blade things that slide across the ground at you. Those things are always there, and then those things that kind of look like dust balls that float around when they hit you, and then you can't.
Yeah, and they don't let you use your sword.
Yeah, you can't use your sword. They always put those in the same goddamn room as the likes. You know what a like is?
I think so. Are those
The likes are
hands?
those things. No, likes are those things that look like They look kind of like
likes?
yeah, they look like that. Maybe that's why they call them likes. They couldn't really figure out what they look like, so they were like they look like. Then anyhow, they look like
What do they do? I probably
they wrap you when you hit them. They wrap around you and they like steal your shield if you have.
Oh my gosh, those things they look.
Yeah.
I thought they were pancakes.
Pancakes?
They were living pancakes.
What would make you think it's a living pancake? It's
I thought they were like living pancakes stacked on top of each other, like this episode from Steven Universe.
It's like a big like slinky or something that wraps around you. Like imagine in your head like this like tube monster that's a tube. It's like a tube monster. it's like a living intestine, it swallows you real quick and spits you out, but it keeps your shield. And it always puts you in those rooms. And then you can't use your sword, lose your shield. Then you got your pitiful little tiny shield.
Oh god.
Hate the little shield. So that's the basic gameplay, and you don't necessarily have to tackle the dungeons in order.
No, I mean you can go. I think I ended up going through them in order, even without a guide for the most part. But like, yeah, I didn't even like. But I mean, like, they're just there. Like, if you can get to a dungeon, like, at any moment, then you won't need any form of anything to get to it. Like, if you can get to it, you, like, don't have to worry about completing anything else before you can. Like, all you gotta do is get there. And without a map, you have to, hope you can make it there.
Yeah, that's true. Basically, any dungeon you get to, you can beat. Because if there is an obstacle in that dungeon that you need an item for, it's probably an item that you get in that dungeon.
Yeah. Or, like, in a prior dungeon and you missed it. Like, and that's very uncommon. The only one I felt like that was really common was the, bridge thing, or, like, ladder.
The ladder?
Bridge. I feel like that was, like, the most common one that you needed, like, across dungeons after you got it.
I could see that being, for the most part, the only sort of gatekeeping item that if you run into but on level I think the first time that you come across that is in
the dungeon that it's like
dungeon that it's in, and you have that little river that just runs across the random part of the dungeon.
But that like stops you from beating the dungeon. So you have to get it before you can go through. So I mean you're not gonna miss it if you're at that dungeon. You're not gonna like get through without it.
That's true. I mean, I guess anything else you basically can kind of get along the way if you need it.
Yeah.
So, what'd you think about the dungeons? The way they were kind of put together. I mean, they were simple, but they were nice.
Yeah, they were pretty nice. I really liked a lot of the design, a lot of the layout. It felt like I was actually going through some ancient ruins.
You know what I like? You know what I really like about the dungeons that always got me ever since I was a kid? How when you walk in the dungeon and like the first room is like a room that doesn't have any monsters,
It's just full of
but it's
statues.
got those statues. I always
That was
thought when I was a kid, that's fucking cool.
I
I
thought
don't
it
know.
was cool, but I was like, what are these? Especially because then they started shooting fireballs at me in other rooms.
Yeah, that does start to throw you off when you get to the later dungeons and like you see those statues and you think it's all cool until they start shooting fireballs at you.
It's like, what? What did I do?
Yeah, I think did you play the second quest at all?
I barely was able to
I
get a start
believe
on it.
I've never beat the second quest. I haven't only maybe got halfway through it in my whole life. But I believe in the second quest there's dungeons when you walk in that first room and it has all the statues where some of the statues will just start shooting fireballs. But I mean it's not like a big deal because it's not like there's any obstacles. You just have to go in and then pick which exit you're going to, but can't dilly dally.
Yeah.
Dilly dally, you're fucking roasted.
Or I mean, unless you have the shield, the big shield, because I'm
I
pretty sure that
guess.
blocks the fireballs.
Yeah, I think the big shield blocks the fireballs. It blocks most things. I think it doesn't block
It doesn't block a lot of the attacks by bosses, but other than that, it
Yeah.
blocks most of the stuff.
like the Lionels blocks the Lionel.
I think so.
I'm not sure. I swear I remember having the magic shield and I was fighting one of the Lionels. The sword beams that the Lionels had got me.
I think it might block the red ones, but maybe not the blue ones.
That would make sense. I can imagine that being accurate.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and also like it seemed like the blue ones were always like the tougher ones of like the two. Whenever there were like a monster of two colors, it was always like the red ones are kind of just like and then the blue ones are like super like buffed versions.
Yeah, well, is that how it is with the Moblins? I think is it the other way around? With the Moblins, the blue ones are weaker and the red ones are stronger.
The moblins are the ones that look like the little goblins, right?
They look like little dog people.
Yeah.
I could
I
be totally wrong. No,
think
does okay? So it probably does. The red ring blocks 25% of your damage, right?
the red ring makes you take half damage, and then the blue ring makes you take another half damage off that.
So like a quarter damage. I don't know. I never get the red ring. I always end up getting the blue ring, and then that's it. Off the top of my head, I can't even tell you where
Which
the
comes
red.
first, the red or the blue ring? The blue ring.
I don't
right?
remember. Like
I think the
always
blue
get.
ring comes first, and that one takes half damage. So if something would do a heart to you, it'll take half. And then if you get the red ring, which I'm pretty sure
I
is
think-
in the last dungeon, so it's very limited on use. But then that one takes half damage. So if you get hit with something that would take
I can't
half a
remember.
heart from the last one, now it will take not even a heart. It takes 2 hits from that to do half a heart.
That could be very true. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Moblins, I'm trying to think, red ones and blue ones. Maybe you are right. Maybe the red ones are weaker and the blue ones are a little bit stronger. Because that's how the Lionels are. The red Lionels are weaker and the blue Lionels are stronger.
Yeah, and that's also how those like guys that come out of the ground are. The like red ones are like slower and like like you can see them before they come up more. Like their sprite animations take longer, whereas the blue ones they just go, and they just shoot across the map.
Like
And they take like 4 hits, and then
those
the other ones
blue-
take like 1.
those blue spinny things that come
Yeah.
out of the sand. Yeah.
Like the blue ones take 4 hits, and the red ones take 1 with the wooden sword. So it's like
Okay, that all checks out.
they're like super buffed, and I'm like, what is going on here?
All right, so what were your favorite enemies out of this game? Like, what enemies did you like? Maybe not the strongest or the
Yeah.
what do you think were the coolest enemies in this game?
Oh man, the coolest enemies, man. Probably, those guys in the water.
The
Like,
Zoras?
yeah, I thought they were cool. Like, not like they weren't fun to fight, but they were like cool. Like,
I hate those Zoras because you can never get rid of them. Because even
that's
if you
not true.
kill
You
one,
can kill them.
but then another one will pop up.
That never happened for me. When I killed one, they stayed gone.
No, that shouldn't be how it is unless the game hates me.
That checks out.
That does check out.
Like,
But the funny thing is, later Zelda games, like the Zora, eventually become like a race of people that's like humanoid and peaceful. Like they're like a different kingdom of like fish people.
huh?
Yeah.
I guess I could see that checking out. They're just like
Like,
maybe mind controlled by Ganon in the first game, and like,
oh, you know what? I think that's the thing. I think that is the lore. I think that's the Zelda lore behind the Zora is that somehow they were corrupted by Ganon.
I like how I guessed that. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm saying I think. I could also be wrong. I've been wrong before about Zelda.
That checks out. But I
So,
mean, it sounds plausible.
so you like the Zora?
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
You thought they were like. What about the bosses? What do you think was your favorite boss?
Um, my favorite boss was the dragon guys. They were really hard, but they were super cool.
Like
Like
the Hydras, where the heads come
yeah,
off
the
as you beat
hydras.
them.
Yeah, and like when you kill one, like another head comes off, and they get really annoying.
They are
Especially-
pretty tough. Those are probably the toughest enemies. They're boss enemies.
Yeah, they get pretty annoying, but they're pretty. Like I think they're pretty cool.
And they move around pretty quick once the head comes off the body.
Oh yeah, like it's instantly they're just flying around and shooting unblockable fireballs at you.
What do you think was the hardest boss?
Ganon.
Ganon. You thought Ganon? Yeah, Ganon's alright.
I mean, once I figured out what I was doing, Ganon wasn't very hard. But before I got it, it was like the hardest boss fight. But I mean, if I really had
You just get that silver arrow on and bust him.
yeah, I didn't get the silver arrow when I first went through.
I mean, that's the thing you probably need.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I was like, oh well, this is like it's a silver arrow, but like I mean, it's the end of the game. I don't need it. Whatever.
It's only the last item that they give to me. It's only the very last weapon that they're saving to give me. It's probably not that good.
Well, no, I figured it was probably good. I figured it, but I thought it would only be like I thought it would just be like 5 times damage on all hits with my bow or something. And I was
think
like,
there's one of the elder old people that give you advice. I think one of them says something about the silver arrow, right? That you need the silver arrow to defeat Ganon.
maybe I don't know. I didn't go see a lot of the NPCs because the first time I ever like saw an NPC was like outside of like just walking into a house or something or like a cave. I blew a wall up. I went in and this guy made me pay him $100 for his wall.
Well, that's
So so
hey, you blow up my wall. You're paying for that wall. Let me tell you
but,
something.
but I was like, okay, whatever. And then so I went and I did it again. And then the next guy made me pay him $100 for the wall. So I was like, I'm just not gonna go see these guys anymore. It's not worth it.
Yeah, all right.
So I didn't get most of like the NPC hint. Like I ended up having to go to the stores at the like end of the game. Like when it came to a point where I needed like certain things from the stores. But like up until the end of the game, I just wasn't going to stores.
Yeah, I don't usually go to the stores. Like when it comes to going to the stores, I stop in. Well, of course, I buy the blue,
Yeah, the blue
ring. I buy the arrow, and I buy the potion. And I usually buy the what is it? The red potion that you can use twice, or the blue potion you
The
can
red
use twice?
potion is
Yeah.
no, the blue potion is twice, and then once it turns red, you can only use it once more after that.
Yep. I usually buy the blue potion once when I unlock it with the map or that note.
Yeah,
letter thing, whatever.
the note from the guy.
And then I usually don't even end up using the red potion. Like I end up using most times the blue potion at least to turn it to a red potion once,
yeah,
and then I never really usually have to use it after that.
yeah, but I mean, it's nice to have it there. I think I got one at one point, but I ended up using it pretty quickly because that was before I started using a bunch of rewinds.
Oh, you used the rewinds, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't proud of it, but the game kind of made me because the amount of damage I was taking from enemies just was getting insane. So I was like, I don't know what to do here except rewind.
Okay, you sound like an abusive boyfriend. Like, see what you made me do? You made me rewind. If you wouldn't be this hard, I wouldn't have to rewind.
But I was much more polite about it. I was like, I don't want to rewind, but like this is like this is just getting too hard for me. Sometimes I feel like I have to rewind to be able to do this. Like to make this work, I'm gonna have to rewind.
I mean, I use save states at the beginning of each dungeon. I made a save state, and I only really had to, I guess, twice, maybe 3 times, had to start a dungeon over. over again.
Well, I mean, I wasn't like abusing like rewinds. Like I wasn't going out of my way to rewind. I just only did it like if I took a bunch of damage and was about to die, or if I had died instead of pressing continue because I didn't want to go all the way back to that first spot and have to find my way all around the map. I would just rewind to when I was alive, or like I'd rewind to like before I took a bunch of damage and then like fight from there. Like I wouldn't rewind just to kill an enemy, like keep going, like rewinding till I got my hits in perfectly without taking damage. Like that's pushing it. That's like
That's a little.
that's abusing it.
That is abusing it a little bit. I mean, I guess I've played this game so many times. I probably wouldn't need it, and this is your first time playing it. I bet if I played this game with save states and rewinds at like 7 years old, I would have used the fuck out of it.
It would have been crazy.
Even a perfect playthrough, no deaths.
I think even like when I was using rewinds, I still had like 3 restarts on my game. I think it was 3 or maybe 4. It was either 3 or 4, but I just remember it.
So would you say this is a hard game?
I would say if someone was coming into this game as their first game, yes. But like if you have like experience playing like any type of RPG, like
Ooh, you just called this game an RPG.
No,
You're
not
gonna piss some people off.
I'm not saying Zelda's
action RPG maybe.
Like, well, I'm not saying that it's necessarily an RPG, but if you have any like experience playing an RPG game, not that Zelda is, I wouldn't even know what genre to call it. I would call it
I think back in the day Nintendo called it an adventure.
Yeah, and that's
and
probably...
nowadays I think we would refer to it as maybe, I don't know if I would say action RPG. I mean, you get stat increases, but you know, bare bones static.
Yeah.
I mean, you get attack power goes up, your defense can go up, your hit points can go up, but you don't necessarily have any control over, you know, oh, I'm gonna make him more stronger and less. But I think you don't have to sacrifice anything to get other things.
But I think anybody who has experience playing an RPG, like, and not necessarily, like, really, like, when I say RPG, too, I don't mean, like, a shooter, like, I mean, like, more like a fantasy RPG with, like, swords and, like, close combat.
Are you just talking about the, you know, the theme of it? Like, the fact that it's, like...
No, but I'm just mean, like, if you're playing, like, then you're going to understand the game a lot better if you've played a game where, like, you've been in, like, an open worldish situation where like you're fighting monsters and stuff.
I think this game would be challenging, but
it would still be challenging.
You keep using RPG like this is an RPG.
It's really isn't.
Like I wouldn't like as far as the gameplay of this game, I wouldn't say it's an RPG.
No, I don't think it's an RPG.
I think an adventure game would be a good way to classify it, but then again, you got the what they technically called adventure games back in those days were like the computer point and click, you know, games like Day of the
Oregon
Tentacle.
Trail and
not Oregon Trail, but I'm talking about like Day of the Tentacle or Sam and Max, you know, games you've never heard of.
Yeah, never.
Let me think of a game that you would probably like point and click games, you know.
Well, I know what point and click games are. Like, I mean, there are still point and click games that come out that are pretty fun.
We're playing Day of the fucking Tentacle. We're playing, what is it, Lester the Unlikely? What is his name? What's the name of that game? Oh, you don't know.
Yeah,
what am I even asking you for?
I don't know.
But yeah, those are... but I think I would say this is more like action RPG. And the only reason I say action RPG is because of the stat increases, stat growth.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I wouldn't call Zelda an RPG, but I feel like people who have experience playing RPG type games like will probably do a lot better than somebody
action RPGs, because you do have to kind of, you know, your progress and how good you are is based on, you know, reacting to enemies in real time. Whereas back in that day, an RPG would consist of turn-based. Okay, I take a turn, you take a turn.
Yeah.
You know, whereas this is more you're, you know, real time reacting to enemies, you know, and it's much more dexterity focused than thought focused.
And I like how you point that out actually though, because like because for your generation, an RPG is that like turn-based like fighting game. Whereas for my generation, a lot of people think of RPGs as like just your average open world game where you
Fucking
have like
Skyrim.
yeah, like Skyrim, Fallout, like those games of the world. Like that's what an RPG is to people my age. Whereas an
I
RPG,
don't. People, yeah. Look at the new Final Fantasy games. They aren't even turn-based anymore. I guess that makes sense.
so like when I say RPG, I'm thinking more on the lines of like a game where like you're just having like action with like even like possibly like 10 enemies at once, like in like you're just acting in live time, like trying to move out of the way and like block like hits and like kill all the enemies all at once. Like
Okay, I can see why that umbrella term can kind of fit in more with your thought of what an RPG is.
yeah, like now that like once you had me play and obviously like I get like the turn-based RPG. Like I don't think a turn-based RPG isn't an RPG. I get that because I've played turn-based RPGs, but I'm just a lot more familiar with the Fallouts of the world where RPG is just exploring, picking items up and killing a bunch of enemies at once. Like
Oh, you're gonna have so much fun when we play Dragon Warrior. You're gonna have so much fun when we play the original Final Fantasy.
but like yeah, like anybody who has like experience playing like a more modern version of an RPG where like you're doing like that action, you're going to probably be better at Zelda than somebody who like plays platformers like Super Meat Boy and like Mario and stuff. Like because there's just a complete different needed set
Shout
of skills.
out to Super Meat Boy. That's cool. I like that. I like that. I
Super Meat Boy is an amazing game. I only ever played it when I was really young, but it's a pretty good game.
love Super
Like,
Meat Boy.
It's really cool. I've watched a lot of people play it. I've wanted to play it like for a while now, but I haven't had an excuse. So I've been looking for some friends to maybe stream it with, but I haven't found anybody who's willing to buy the game just for a few streams. So
I like Super. And going back to the RPG thing, nowadays I guess almost every game you would say has RPG elements in it.
yeah,
even,
for the
even
most
games
part.
like look at the Horizon games where there's skill trees and equipment you can you get. So it is an action
Yeah.
game, but RPG elements.
Like every action game has all these RPG elements in them now.
It seems like every game has RPG elements.
Yeah. And I mean for me though, like really I've never like I don't play much other than action in like RPGs. Like I have games that I play that aren't those things. Like I have simulation games like that are like Surgeon Simulator and stuff. But like other than that
I got Power Wash Simulator.
Power Wash Simulator, I watched big YouTuber Markiplier play that like for like 4 episodes of the podcast. He was like gonna start playing, like talking to people while just playing Power Wash Simulator. I watched a few episodes of that. But I mean, I don't know. I'm like more into like the like active idea of a simulator where like I'm actively doing something that's like whereas like with Power Wash Simulator you're just moving your joystick back and forth and it's like cleaning this stuff and you like it's
relaxing.
It's relaxing, but it's like
super
super
relaxing.
slow paced and I just can't do that.
You're super slow.
I know I can't run.
But he's good at other things.
I'm great at other things.
I mean, he can't run and he can't lift heavy objects, but
I can lift. What are you talking about? I can lift really heavy objects.
listen, he's good at other things, okay?
But like, even like one of the first game series that I picked up that was like I wouldn't think of would have RPG elements in. I mean, you might because you probably are a lot more familiar with this series than I am. When I say it, you'll probably be like, "What are you talking about?" But Far Cry 3 was one of the first ever games.
Okay, yeah, I
picked
can see
up.
that.
And I like. I mean, I didn't understand there were RPG elements, but like a lot of like the RPG like ideas that were put into the game, I didn't get why they were there. I was like, why do I have like all of these like character building stuff? Like this game doesn't feel like something that should have that.
Well, because the I love, and don't get me wrong, I love RPG elements in games. I love building a skill tree. I love going through and building out a character how I want, and then but then usually by the end of the game you max everything out and it doesn't matter how you got there because you're there.
Yeah.
But you start off kind of going through in one path before you unlock all the paths, which I think is cool.
Yeah. Well, because because from what my idea of like a shooter game was, I was at Uncharted, right? So like a shooter action game was to me a very linear game where like you just shoot a bunch of guys and you follow the story of like a really weird, stupid thing, but it was fun to play. And then I go on to Far Cry 3, and like, don't get me wrong, I love Far Cry 3, but like I went from Uncharted, like very linear, like no character, like no personal character things you can do, like very set, like how you beat the like missions, especially in the first game, very specific. And then Far Cry 3, where it's like, approach this however you want to, like just get it done.
I love Far Cry 3, 4, 5, 6. Just like, here's a sandbox, blow shit up, stealth in there, or well, on Far Cry 5, send the dog in there.
Far Cry 3,
distract them.
I love Far Cry 3 stealth. Like Far Cry 3 stealth introduced me to a whole idea of stealth in video games, and it's why I love stealth so much. Like if we ever play a Zelda game where stealth is even like an option, that's what I go for. Any game where I can stealth.
There's Zelda games that have stealth in them. Like even Ocarina of Time, there's a stealth segments. I mean, there a couple of them. Let me think. Breath of the Wild has. You can use stealth, like you can sneak around. Breath of the Wild is more like a Far Cry take on Zelda.
Yeah,
they give you the open world. There's all these encampments. There's dungeons. You approach them how you want. You can attack, groups and shit. Like you, you can attack them. You can stealth in. You could, roll a boulder off a cliff onto them. It's just like that. But
yeah,
we're pretty off in the weeds right now. Let's get back to Zelda.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the dungeons. So. You like the dungeon layouts with the compass map and a special
most of the dungeon
item?
layouts were pretty good.
There was one specific dungeon. And we're going to talk about that for a specific second. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was 7 or 6.
I think it was, if I can remember right, was it 2 or 3? And it's shaped very oddly, if you noticed.
It's shaped very oddly. I don't think we should say it.
It was a swastika.
Okay, yeah, we can say it. But it was, I don't know.
That was an odd choice for a dungeon.
Yeah, especially because this was a game made in Japan in like the 1980s.
Yeah, it's an odd choice. I mean, I'm sure it's some sort of symbol.
It probably has a meaning.
I'm sure it doesn't mean nothing. I'm sure it's just like that's the design they picked. I'm sure it's some sort of symbol.
Yeah, it probably
that
means
doesn't
something.
mean what everything has all the underlying
connotations.
The connotations. There we go. But yeah, I want to know if you noticed that. Did you get the maps in every?
Yeah, I got them, and it took me when I first went through, I didn't really notice until I had to go back to that dungeon for some reason. I was like, this map.
This reminds me of something.
I feel like a specific friend of mine would be very interested in this map for some reason.
I feel like this map would offend somebody.
I feel like my friend Noah would really hate this map. Didn't know why.
Yeah, the dungeon designs, and then the rest of them just are. I think they're actually specifically supposed to be a thing.
Yeah, I think
but
that
they're
in the
very
manual
vague.
it said like what they were like supposed to be.
Like I know one's supposed to be an eagle.
And then the final one, Dungeon 9, is like a skull.
Yeah, it's a skull. That's the cool one.
That one's really cool. I like that.
And
one.
that's a fun dungeon because it takes you all over and back and forth.
Gosh,
There's
it's insane.
The puzzles in Dungeon 8.
There was like I could not. I had to use a map to get through that entire dungeon. I could not without it. It was insane.
Did you look up any wikis or any facts?
Wikis, no. I really didn't use a guide. I used a guide once, and that was for one of the bosses. And it was that guy with like an eye in the middle who like spun, and you had to like blow the whistle, and it would like split him into 3.
Oh yeah,
that's the only time I used an actual guide in this game.
That's my least favorite boss.
Oh, for sure.
Like I do not like that boss, and it's not because I feel it's hard. I just for some reason just don't like it. Like I get that it's got in the Nintendo Entertainment System in Japan, the Super Famicom, right?
Yeah, the Super Famicom.
The controller on the Super Famicom had a mic, right? There was a mic in it, and from what I can recall from hearing stories, that in that dungeon you didn't get a recorder, you blew into the mic, and I believe that's how you you beat him or something.
That's a cool thing though. Like that's actually kind of cool.
I may be completely and 100% wrong on that.
Oh no, it sounds like you're wrong, but if it is real, like it doesn't sound right. But if it is real, that's a really cool idea.
I feel like there's something in this game where you use the mic and it damages it. Maybe it's not that boss. I think it's one of the other bosses, or not a boss, but one of the other monsters. Maybe it's one of the other monsters that you blow into the mic and it'll kill them.
I wonder which one it would be.
It would make sense that it's that monster since the whistle hurts. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe there's an. I'm gonna have to look this up at some point.
Fact check yourself.
I'm gonna fact check myself. Put my own comments on the fucking podcast. Like I was wrong at this many minutes and this many seconds.
Just like absolute fact check, like in the description on the YouTube page. Just absolute fact check for each and every time we made a mistake. Just a timestamp in what we need to correct.
Just consider it corrected when we do Legend of Zelda for the NES Part 2 in a year when we revisit it. Just have our shit together a lot better.
And I mean, also, if you're listening to a podcast, you shouldn't take everything the people say at face value. You should, maybe do your own research
I'm old.
instead of
I forget
spreading.
things.
Yeah, you shouldn't just spread information without making sure it's proper. So what we say. We're in a position where we're recording this live. We don't have scripts. We're just talking. You guys have the ability to fact check before you tell someone something.
Quit being so condescending to our non-existent viewers that we'll never have viewers for this podcast.
Because of me.
Because, it's a podcast. No one's going to watch it. They're going to listen to it.
But, on YouTube, they're described as viewers, so...
Well, we're not on YouTube. We're
on everything, shouldn't we? We should have a YouTube channel.
Well... Listen, we don't need to discuss those things on
episode.
air. That's for the uncut Patreon episodes.
That's funny because on my podcast we talk about it. We talk about like everything behind the scenes, just in it, and leave it in.
You ain't Sushi Dragon. Calm down.
Huh?
That went over his head. Anyhow,
wish.
So, what did you think about the items in this game?
Pretty cool. I like how there was like a spot for everything in your inventory, which confused me at first because I picked up something and it was just in the middle of my inventory. I was like, why is this like
the middle of my
why is
inventory?
this just in the middle of my I'm pretty sure it was a bomb. And it was just like in the middle and I'm like, why is this not like...
All right, well, let's go through the items one by one and kind of talk about them for a second. So you got the boomerang.
I didn't get the boomerang.
Okay, so I got the boomerang. And the boomerang's cool. You get it in the first dungeon, and you just randomly get it when you
I think
fight
you
those.
you go to the right and you beat the guys in there, and it gets
the guys
you.
with the boomerangs. You just beat them, and then you get a boomerang. I think that is super cool.
Oh yeah,
like that. I used to think that was the coolest thing. It's like, oh, I beat them, and they dropped their weapon, and I picked their weapon up. Like that concept of I beat that guy, and he dropped his weapon, and I picked it up is fucking cool to me, especially as a kid.
That's probably what started I don't know, maybe I might be wrong because I haven't played a lot of retro games, but I've never the retro games I've played, I've never seen that before. So I feel like Zelda probably started that trend of enemies drops when you kill them.
I can see that. And then you got the blue boomerang, which you get later on, basically the same exact way when
never got it.
Get to the when you get to the blue boomerang guys, and then you kill them, and you get a blue boomerang. Okay. And then you got the bow and arrow.
The bow and arrow. Barely got it in time.
Hate the bow and arrow because you get the bow, and that's what used to piss me off as a kid, and still kind of pisses me off is you
have to pay.
You get the bow, and you're like, all right, cool, I got a bow, but you don't fucking have any arrows. So it's basically like your first item you get in the dungeon is like
arrows way before I got the bow.
Did you?
Because I thought it was gonna be a new sword. I thought it was like a sword and a stone or something.
I always get the arrows too, but that's because I do a run of the map and get things before I go into the first dungeon. But before I came up with my, the way I run on that game, it would always make me mad that you got that fucking bow, and then you had to go buy the arrows, and then every arrow cost you a rupee.
Yeah.
That
pisses
me off.
I don't the thing that confused me when I don't understand why they chose rupee for the because that's the currency in India, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a rupee. I don't know. I think it's a translation thing.
Maybe
because I believe. They look like little crystals.
They look like maybe rubies.
You would think rubies, but rubies are red.
Oh yeah, true.
So I think it's.
But they're shaped like when you think of the shape of a ruby, like that almost like it's almost rectangular, but like it's like that same shape.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the basic crystal shape. I mean, it's the shape of the crystals in Final Fantasy.
True.
Well, not the,
I mean, I
the
wouldn't know,
NES
but
Final Fantasy because they use orbs, but
yeah.
I can't really tell you what the thing behind Rupee is. I probably could have done more research and had that answer, but
That's also a very niche thing that
if
I
you
was just pulled out of the water.
If you want hard facts about fucking these games, this is the wrong podcast for you. You need to go listen to Retronauts or something. You know,
Or-
like
I was gonna say Retro Warriors, but I feel like they just they do what we did for a while there and just go on.
shout out to
tangents.
Retro Warriors. Those guys are cool.
First retro podcast I ever watched. Only one I'll ever watch.
Anyhow, if you want some hard facts, go listen to Retronauts or some. I like Jeremy Parrish. I feel like you don't know who that is,
Nope.
but I relate to him with a lot of his opinions on games and stuff. Anyway, you want facts? Go to Retronauts.
Yeah.
You want some stuff that's probably 50% bullshit and 50% true? Listen to us.
Yeah.
Because
Because we're having a good time with it.
because we're cool.
We're having
And
fun.
I'm old and he's young, and we're talking about old games.
And I feel like there's got to be some vanity to that. I don't think I've ever heard of people doing that before.
Anyway, so back to the weapons. You got went over the bow and arrow. You got the candle.
The candle.
The first candle that you get is the
You
blue
buy
one.
it, I'm pretty sure, don't
Yeah,
you?
you buy it, and you get to use it once per
Per
screen.
screen.
That is the most annoying thing in the world.
And I didn't until, like, because I got it, for some reason I was just like, oh, I should just get this, like, early on, because I had a lot of money really quick. So I was like, I'll just buy things. So I bought a candle, and I did not understand the use of it until, like, the 4th dungeon when I needed it. I was so confused. I was like, what's the point?
Did you ever burn any bridges or burn any bushes out in the overworld?
Nope. Once again, I never even attempted because I didn't want to have to pay 100 coins every single time.
So you did you get the magic shield, right? Did you bought the magic shield?
Yeah, I bought the shield.
I think if you burn that bush, I may be wrong. Fuck, I just played this like the other day. If you burn the bush
Me too.
to get the magic shield, I think it's free if you get it from that bush.
It's like a million bushes.
There is. But there's a few bushes on the overworld that lead to like stores or a lot of the bushes are like you go into them and then the person's like, here's some money to help you, and just like 100
Yeah.
rupees or 30.
And I think it's generally those moblins too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's generally moblins that are like, this is a secret.
Because I'm pretty sure the bushes that you burn don't give you hearts. It's just like the things you bomb in the overworld that get you hearts.
Yeah.
Then the hearts that are there that you need, like the raft and the bridge to get across, or the ladder.
The latter two, I was so confused. The first, like, so I went, like, for some reason, I went all the way to the right, like, instantly. And I went up, and there was this heart container sitting out, like, in the middle of the water. And I was like, dude, I want that. How do I get that? So I started, like, shooting, like, my sword beam at it. And, like, I did everything I could, like, trying to figure out how to get this thing. And then eventually I went and got the ladder thing, and I was like, the heart container! I can go get the heart container!
You get the raft before you get the ladder.
Yeah, but you can't use the raft.
But you can't use the raft, and that used to piss me off as a kid because I could go to just north of that. There's a little. It's like a little dock. I think that's what it looks like. Is a dock, and then you can go up.
And that takes you to the fourth one.
No. The one you go up on the right.
Oh no, it takes you up to the
a gambling
like a secret
thing or
area
something.
thing.
But slightly below that, you see the dock. And then there's a heart container, but for some fucking reason, you can't take the raft like 10 feet in that
10
direction,
feet in that direction
to get a heart. but you can take a ladder. You can walk across a fucking ladder. And I feel like the raft would have been a much more reasonable, answer to getting across that little patch of water. Sure, it would have been a short trip, but I think going across a ladder,
did it?
Like, and Link just carries ladders around and rafts. And
He just carries it around in his back
that
pocket.
is a very resourceful young 11-year-old boy.
Oh yeah. I mean, those pajamas, I wonder what kind of pockets they got, because I need those.
Well, did you ever, on the old Legend of Zelda animated cartoon that they had,
I've seen that.
He had a bag, and like the items would be tiny little items that were just like about the size of.
He just pulled them out. They got big.
They were like the size of a battery or something, and then he'd put them in that bag, and then he'd pull them out of that bag, and then they'd become big, like the normal size how they should be, which was weird.
I don't know. I mean, it's one way to explain it. It's kind of like the instant you said that, my brain went like Sounds like a bag of holding from D&D. Just has infinite storage. Just put stuff in there.
Yeah, basically, it's a bag of holding. And then, yeah, okay, so back to the items. You got the blue candle, which you can use once per screen, which is fucking annoying.
Then you can eventually go on to get the red
And then you get the red candle,
which you can use 2 at a time. 2 flames
which
at a time.
is, and you can use it as many times
In a screen as you want.
as long as the other flames, like, extinguish before you use it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that used to piss me off about that candle is, and it's more to do with the inventory system. You walk into a dark room, you gotta pause it, pull out your candle, light the room, pause it again, and then re-equip whatever
thing you're gonna need.
secondary weapon you were using in the first place.
Yeah.
And that is annoying when it's like every other room is a dark room. Like when you get to later dungeons.
But then the red one, that one lights it at for like 3 screens. I'm pretty sure. So like,
does it?
Yeah. So like I'm pretty sure because I was looking at a map when I was going through one of the dungeons and there were like 3 rooms that were dark in a row, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be annoying. But then I went through, I lit one, and then the rest of them were bright, like the rest of the way through, and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, maybe that's something. I just never use the candles. I usually, most of the dungeons, each room, there's a certain amount of layouts that they have.
Oh yeah,
And
that became very apparent very quick.
I can usually tell which layout is in the room by my first couple steps into the room if it's dark. And then after that, I don't need the candle. I usually just don't
Especially
use the
because you can
candle.
see the enemies too, like before it's bright. So
I usually just don't use the candle. The only thing that sucks is all the enemies will show up when it's dark. You can still see all the enemies except for those little diamond-shaped things that fly across the ground at you.
God.
Those you don't see in the dark.
Those were so annoying, especially when they're like right by like where you have to blow up a wall. Like,
yeah.
So like you have to run, put the bomb there, and then run out of the way, and then like wait for them to move out of the way, and the bomb explodes, and you're going through, and they come to try to get you.
Okay, speaking of bombs, let's talk about the bombs. What'd you think about the bombs?
Pretty cool. I liked them. I thought it was a pretty cool like.
I like the bomb design too. It's like the same
Oh,
bomb
it looks
design they
pretty cool.
used in Super Mario 2. They almost look like the same bomb.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, I'm picturing them in my head. Yeah, they do look very similar.
Like
Super
they're
Mario,
like that bluish, like gray.
yeah, Super
like dark,
Mario America.
Yeah.
It does look very similar to the same bomb.
Super Mario America.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, in Japan.
Because it's
Okay, so the bombs are cool. They're very generic, basic. Like
just blue bombs.
every Zelda game has bombs. And then what's next after that? The flute. Let's talk about the flute. So, what were your thoughts on the flute?
I like it. I never blew it in the overworld just like to blow it in the overworld towards the end of the game, so I didn't realize the super cool carryover that would be super like nostalgic for me once I saw it, which was the tornado that just came and put you in a random spot. I didn't even get to experience that towards like the end game because I never just tried to blow it.
The same flute they used in Mario 3. Yep.
Like in that one,
It's even the same tune.
Yeah, it's the exact same tune. I was like, and when because every time I blew it, I was like, I know this tune. Where do I know this tune from? Like, it was, like, bugging me so bad because, like, I knew it, but I didn't know where it was from. And then once I finally blew it in the overworld for some reason and that thing came and picked me up, I was like...
Tornado.
The tornado came and picked me up. I was like, it's Mario 3.
Yeah, I like the flute. And that's what got me, too, when I was a kid was... But I played The Legend of Zelda before I played Mario 3 because it came out before Mario 3. So it was more like when I was younger, it was like when I played Mario 3, I was like, oh, it's the Zelda flute.
Thing.
And that's where I was
Mario
like, yeah. The flute's cool. I like the tune. Very, very nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
Then you got, what's after that? Say the magic wand.
Yeah, the magic wand.
Now, the magic wand is probably my favorite secondary weapon.
Oh, yeah, because it doesn't, like, there's no, like, you don't pay anything to use it. There's no set amount of how many times you can use it. It just works.
And it does extra damage on, you know those the whiz robes, the little like wizards that disappear and then they teleport and shoot at you.
It does more damage to them.
It does more damage to them.
I should have been using that against them the whole time.
The cool thing I like to do is you can double shoot if you have the sword and the wand equipped. You hit the sword button, then right after that hit the wand button, then you'll shoot like boom boom, like a little rapid fire sort of like. You can take out enemies out pretty quick with a double shot of like the magic sword beam and
I like every single item, like once you like upgraded it got a cosmetic upgrade except the magic wand, because once the way you upgraded it was you got like the book, the wizard book or whatever, but like it and it makes it shoot out fire. Like, so you get that wizard book, if you don't know what it is, you're not gonna realize. In fact, I had no clue why all of these fires were just starting whenever I was shooting out my magic wand. I was so confused by that. Until
Yeah.
eventually I realized, wait, is this the item that I picked up? So I looked
Speaking of
it
the
up.
magic book, we can talk about that now. All it does powers up your wand.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about the non-usable items like that you don't use them, they just get used. Like, you
Yeah.
got the raft,
Yeah,
which
the
lets
raft,
you
the
travel
ladder.
across a couple places. It's not super useful. There's only maybe
I
a
think like
handful
three.
of places you can.
I think there's like three super like big ones, but
I think there's only. I mean, you use it to get to level 5.
and then
You
there's
use it to
that
get
one
that secret
room.
spot. And
I
then
think there's one more after that, but I don't remember what it was. There might not be though.
look, I think that's it. I think you use it just those 2 spots.
Such a waste for such a super
It's-
cool item.
It's a cool item. Yeah, and then you got the ladder, which is somehow way more useful than a raft
Yeah, somehow
because you use it. You
you can cross
basically
one block
use
gaps.
you basically use the ladder to cross water.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why it is a ladder. It should have been like a plank of wood or something. I think that
Yeah.
would be more. I would rather walk across a plank of bare wood than a ladder across water.
Well, I mean, I could see like if you have really good balance, go ahead, walk across a ladder. But like, I have very bad balance. So if I'm walking across a ladder, I'm gonna fall into the water, dude.
And that's just yeah.
Like you have to like put the middle of your like foot on like the little like on the handle part and like walk across it and like hope you don't slip or anything.
Yeah.
And then you have to pick it up, like pick up an entire ladder and move it.
Then okay, so then you got the power bracelet.
Power bracelet.
Unlike
which,
the power bracelet, would let you push those blocks.
Yeah. The first one lets you push the blocks. Isn't there 2 of them?
No, I'm pretty sure there's just one power bracelet, and all it does is let you push those
It lets you push,
random blocks.
yeah, the random things.
And I think it's just those ones in the overworld that unlock teleport spots.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. I didn't find that though till after I'd completed Dungeon 6.
Oh, well, that's fun.
So,
I don't usually use the teleports.
no,
that
because
much.
they're super random too.
Well, they're not random. Like there's each spot has 3 doors that you can go to,
yeah,
and each one of those doors lead to a specific place. So if you know what leads to what, it helps you out. Like the only time I think I ever really use the power bracelet is when after I get the magic sword, and then you go right and go up, and there's a little, the 4 little rock things that you push out of
Yeah.
the way, and then there's a teleporter there, and that takes you right back to near the middle of the map. It takes you
yeah. I
basically
think I know.
right to close to level 7, I believe.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
And then
yeah.
so you instead of having to go traverse that whole way back, and then go there, I think that's the only time I ever really used that
yeah,
teleport shit. See what's the there's another one that's not. Is there the rings? Okay.
yeah.
So you
the
got the
rings.
red wing, that does your damage by half, and then the blue ring does your damage by 3/4.
Yeah,
Because I believe the red ring you can get in a dungeon for free, and that one only does half, and the blue one is stronger, and it does
yeah.
touch
You
your
can
damage
get
by
both of them
3/4.
for free, but you can also buy the red ring, but you can't buy the blue ring.
No, you can't. You can buy the blue ring. That's the only way you get the blue ring, right?
No, I thought you got it in one of the. I'm pretty sure I got it in one of the dungeons. Maybe you can buy it, but I think you can get it in one of the dungeons too.
Maybe you do. Like I said, Retronauts if you want facts.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's go back. We got all those are all the non-usable items. What did we miss of the usable items? The silver arrow, which is important.
Silver arrow.
Which you found out.
Yeah, which I found out how important
the
it
silver
is.
arrow is. Which doesn't make a huge comeback until like Ocarina of Time. And then you got let's see.
Which will still be retro though, so we will be playing.
Oh,
it.
we will definitely be playing that. Let's see what else. What other items? You got the boomerangs, the bombs, the wand, the flute.
Yeah.
Bow and arrows, candles. Am I missing something? I feel like I'm missing something.
I don't know what you're missing, but it feels like you are.
Magic
I-
shield,
Yeah, the magic shield.
which is a super big improvement because that small shield doesn't block shit, but like Octorok rocks.
Yeah,
I like saying Octoroks.
Octoroks.
I like saying Octorok rocks.
Octorok rocks. Pretty cool.
Let's see. I think that's it for the items, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be it, honestly.
Feels like a small list. I guess there's only 8 items,
There's
right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be all of them.
And then there's a few on the top, but like
And
once
those
again,
there's
those
four on the top, and that's the ladder, the book, the raft, and the power bracelet.
yeah,
Those are the inactive items. Well, they're active items, but you don't use them. They get used.
yeah. So they're idle items, I would guess I would call them like idle,
Idle
'cause
items. I like saying
idle
idle
items.
items.
Idle
Idle
items.
items you get from knocked rocks.
We should
Rocks.
that should be like any term we use for an item you can't actively use but just becomes a thing. That should just be our term.
Idle items.
Idle
You heard
items.
it first. Here, Retro Quest.
Idle items.
We're idle items. You know,
We are trademarking that now.
like my treadmill. It's
ours.
just there and it doesn't get used.
It's
an idle item. All right. So let's see. We went through the weapons and we did all that. What else would you like to say about this game? Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, it was. I mean, really, the overall experience. We haven't really talked much about the overall like enjoyment experience of it.
Okay, well, tell me your overall enjoyment of this game.
I liked it a lot, actually, way more than I thought I was going to. I went into it like, this is a retro game. Like, this is one of those oldie games. This is
One of those old blocky pixel games with
This
the
is one of those
colors.
games who the people with no hair play. So, I was very.
He's referring to me.
Yeah, you too. But I mean, I was very like, this is the game that all the bald people like. There's no way I'm gonna like this. And then I got like 30 minutes into the game and I was like, I freaking love this game.
Oh, this game is so good. I first played this game when I was like, I'd say
Younger
6 or
than me.
7.
Like
Well,
way younger.
I got my NES the summer when I turned 6. I got it. Super Mario Brothers. Played the shit out of Super Mario Brothers. I played a couple other games before I played this because I rented a few games because I was doing the summer with my grandma, and I had Mario. I rented a couple other games. Played them a little bit. I was young, didn't really get the concepts of all the a lot of times. Went back home, and then at some point after I got back home and was going to school and stuff, one weekend my mom rented me this game, and I love this game so much. Like, I was a kid and I stole the fucking manual out of the rental box because back then when we first started, because when you got later into rentals, they wouldn't put the manuals in the boxes anymore because people would steal them.
Yeah.
So they would make these little, print out. They would like make photocopies of the manual and stick them in the box, and that's partly because of me, because I
you were
stole
part of the
some
problem.
manuals. When I rented games back when they still had the manuals, I would be like, this was so fucking cool. I would just keep the manual. And that was the first time I told my mom, I don't know what happened to that manual. This is fucking weird. And
I wonder.
so yeah, I had that manual and the map. It came with a full-size map of Hyrule, which I thought was super cool. And then I stole it. My thought process was, I'm gonna put this on my wall. But then after I took it, and my mom was mad because they charged her like $5 for the manual, I was like, now I have to hide this for the rest of my
Now I
life.
can't put this on my wall.
Now I have to destroy this map and this manual. What have I become?
I've become the very thing I swear to destroy. Someone without a wall map on their wall.
Yeah. So and it like I said, it blew my fucking mind playing this game because up to then I'd played some Atari, I had played Mario Brothers, and I played a handful of other black box NES games.
Yeah.
And then I played The Legend of Zelda. Holy shit. Blew my mind and started my love for a more in-depth video game.
Yeah. And maybe I'm just like looking back very nostalgically on Mario, but I feel like I would still pick Mario over The Legend of Zelda. Probably just because I know a lot more what I'm doing. A lot more experience with the original Mario than I do the original Zelda.
So you think in general, in your opinion at this point, which doesn't mean a whole lot since you've only really played one Zelda game,
Yeah.
played a lot of Mario games, you would think that Mario surpasses Zelda as a whole?
Yeah, given my information on Zelda, I would say from my personal experience, Mario way out there. I've played pretty much all the Mario games. Well,
let me let you in on a secret. Our next episode, Legend of Zelda: The Adventures Link, is not gonna change your mind. I would fucking love it if it did, and this became the thing that made you love Zelda, because as much as I loved this game when I played the second game, which kind of came out, and at the same time I was super obsessed with the Zelda cartoon, and then I had like some Zelda like reading books that you would get out of like the Scholastic
the
forums at the
Scholastic
school.
book fairs.
And
Those
then
are
Yeah.
Shout out to Scholastic book
Yeah,
fairs.
shout out to Scholastic.
Bro, they have the best book fairs,
I
bro.
used to love you get that little like paper pamphlet like once a month or something, once every 2 months, and you could order books out of it.
Yeah,
Oh, it
and
was
like
so cool. I
and they
remember
were
that.
like really cheap, like too, and it was like the best books. Like for my generation, it was like the Dogman books, but for your generation, it was probably
Yeah,
like
for my generation, it was like you'd have like the Mario and the Zelda, and then like the other books, and then it would go on to like you get the Goosebumps. You get Goosebumps books,
yeah. We had like
Oh.
all the Dogman books, all like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, like
And
the FNAF books were there at one point too. Like
when we get into our next game, and then you'll see that has a much more of an emphasis on some of the RPG elements we discussed.
yeah,
But I don't want to get too far into that because that's going to be what we're talking about next time
Yeah.
on Retro Quest. So probably about time to wrap this up. So if you were to give this a score,
yeah,
let's say what should our scoring scale be? We should make a different scoring scale based on each game,
yeah.
like some of the famous people on the podcast and the YouTubes do. So let's see. There's
I'd
8
say,
Triforce pieces.
yeah, I was about to say so on
So
0
out
to
of
8 Triforce
0
pieces.
On a scale of 0 to 8 Triforce pieces, what would you rank it then? And what would you rank it? I guess you can't do then because you.
Well, I could
rank
rank it from what I think it would be then, like
No,
my
that's,
opinion.
let's just do for your ranking of the Legend of Zelda for the NES out of 0 to 8 Triforce pieces. What would you give it?
I personally would have to give it 7 or maybe 6.5. Right there on the scale.
You can't break a Triforce piece up into fractions.
Exactly. So
You
7.
ain't Zelda. You can't do that. You gotta get it's there's no points on this.
So then 7.
Seven Triforce pieces. Okay. Well,
It's like 8.6 out of 10.
out of 8 Triforce pieces,
He's going to say 8. Watch it.
I'm not gonna say 8 because spoiler: The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past is gonna get an 8, and I can't. I gotta give it that
Isn't
that
Link
Zelda
to the Past the one that
or not
came
Link to the
with-
Past, but Adventure of Link, Zelda
Okay.
2.
I was going to say
I gotta tax it because it's not Zelda 2, and I'm gonna have to make it a 7. I have to give the same as you.
all right. Isn't Link to the Past the one that came out with 4 swords?
No. Link to the Past. I mean, they
Well, like they bundled
did
together.
a remake of Link to the Past for the GBA, I believe, but Link to the Past was for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure like for the DS they started selling like
They probably did. I
did
don't
it
know.
together. I don't know. That's how I
didn't
played
play a
Four Swords.
lot of DS or a lot of 3DS.
DS came out before my time, so we're gonna have, and I have very fond memories of DS games.
Welcome to Retro Quest, my video game podcast where my son forces me to play old video games that I never played before.
I'm excited. There's a few retro games where I know he hasn't played them, and I'm excited to see him
Oh
play
shit,
them.
we're playing Kirby.
I've never played Kirby.
We're gonna
I
change
want to,
that.
though.
We're gonna
I
change
really want
that,
to.
bro.
But like, there's games like King Arthur. He's
Oh.
never. My dad's never even. I don't think even touched it, and that's like a very good one for me.
Is that what is that? NES?
Yeah, it's. I think it's SNES.
We're gonna okay. We're gonna try King Arthur, whatever, and then I'm gonna make you play fucking Defender of the Crown.
Oh god.
You don't even know what that is, but
sounds
someone
scary.
in the world is gonna hear this and be like, "Dear God."
Don't make him. I hear the name and it scares me.
So yeah. So I guess we put a score on this bitch. We wrapped it up. About time to call it a day, right?
Yeah.
Any
And-
final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? I'm glad I was able to have this experience, play the original Legend of Zelda. I'm actually going to be live streaming my playthrough of Legend of Zelda 2 over on my Twitch. I got prior permission for this, so I'm not just dropping this on my father now. This was something we've already established.
This is a paid promotion. Brought
Suck-
to you by our sponsors, Sako Gaming Pro.
Sako Gaming Bozo on Twitch, and I will be uploading all of the VODs. I might not make them into full videos, but all the VODs will go on my main YouTube channel under just Sako Gaming, where I post most of my stuff. So if you want to watch me struggle through The Legend of Zelda 2, as I've heard I probably will do, go and watch that over there.
You'll need a guide. I think going into Zelda 2 is almost impossible because I think even back in the days when we played like Zelda 2, we had like Nintendo Power. Like we had
Yeah.
guides. Like some of those games that came out, you needed a guide for. Kingdom Power was your guide for most of the Nintendo games. And as for me, I've been your host, and I will continue to be your.
And I will always continue to be the co-host.
And I think at some point I'm gonna start streaming my playthroughs of these games. But right now I work a lot, and my schedule.
I'm excited to see it. Bring joystick, justice for Joystick Cowboy.
And that's me. I'm the Joystick Cowboy on Twitch. I haven't streamed in quite a while.
3 years.
Or it's been a minute. I work a lot.
His most recent YouTube video was like 2 years after he made his final stream.
I made some YouTube videos
That
about
are
how
super outdated.
that were technical videos about how to set up OBS and do all sorts of technical nerd shit with streaming tech, and which got a lot of views. And then I stopped making them, and they were super outdated now. And if you were to watch one, you would be like, this is it's like trying to teach somebody who uses a cell phone to use a rotary phone.
I know how to use your rotary phone.
I wasn't. Just because I was looking at you didn't mean I was talking specifically about you. Anyhow, yes, we might bring the Joystick Cowboy channel back to stream some of my retro gaming. If there's any if I feel like there's any need for it, my streaming schedule would
Be super.
be all over the place
Yeah.
until I can figure it out with my work schedule. But yeah. Catch us on the next episode, hopefully in a couple weeks. Maybe a week if Sock can get his shit together and play some Zelda 2. Otherwise, it'll probably be a couple weeks, and then we'll do that podcast, and then probably kick it off with October Horror Game Fest. That's not what we're gonna call it. We'll call it
Horror
Spooktober.
Spooktober. That's definitely not original, but let's go with it. I feel like I've heard that like a million times.
Retrotober.
Questober.
Retro Questober.
Retro Questober. Let's do it.
Let's not do it. We're just okay. We sound dumb.
We're just rambling at this point. We've already ended.
This is the uncut for the Patreons. The real show ended like 5 minutes ago when we were talking about fucking what were we talking about?
Streaming.
After we rated everything after the ratings is gonna be cut. So if you hear this, you're on the uncut.
Man, even my super cool self promotion's gonna be cut.
Oh, that sucks, Sago. I feel so bad for you.
Now
All right.
one's gonna get to watch me play these games.
So this has been Retro Quest, and I am your host, D.
And I am your co-host, Sako.
And
We are signing off.
we're signing off. Come listen to us again sometime.